Good morning. Well, it's still morning here and maybe afternoon wherever you are in the world. But my name is Joanne Roll. I'm the Dean of the School of Business at Medgar Evers College. It is my distinct pleasure to be with you to share a little insight of what we went through. I bring you greetings from our new president, the sixth president of Medgar Evers College, and the first president who's also a woman. Her name is Dr. Patricia Ramsey. I also bring you greetings from the entire Medgar Evers College family. And even though this is a keynote, the body of work that I'm bringing to you has been compiled by the staff of the Dean's office, that's my office, as well as several faculty members and community partners. So I wanted to make sure to give credit where credit is due. The title of our presentation is How Faculty and Student Engagement Improved During COVID-19. And I'll say that because we went through a lot of struggles, as everyone went through struggles, and we learned a lot about what we went through, and we wanted to share it with folks like you at the conference. We have shared it with others at the HBCU Business Deans Roundtable to inspire, motivate, and support. So here is the agenda: an introduction and a timeline, a student alumni engagement, both for faculty support and engagement, professional development, community engagement and industry partnerships, and I'll do a quick summary. I'm going to take you through the timeline. As most of you know, March of 2020, many things shut down and our classes were suspended. Face-to-face administration was suspended. And to compensate, we did daily staff meetings and student town halls, virtual office hours, faculty retreats, dean's list ceremonies. We did increased our activity on articulation agreements to graduate schools and other areas that would help our students. We did a faculty retreat and a student orientation, again, trying to engage and connect our students and other stakeholders that we serve. Our remote learning conference was a success. I'll tell you a little bit about that. Our graduate school and virtual info sessions, alumni shining and faculty brown bags, all virtual, everything virtual. And then the spring of this year, we continued because we were continuing in our remote environment. We were a little bit better prepared because we had more practice. We did our what we call our Bling Conference, and that was to look at wealth in underserved communities and how to generate more wealth in our communities. We did graduate school virtual info sessions, mentorship programs, and that's a highlight because it's a peer-to-peer mentorship program. And I'll tell you a little bit more why that was so necessary. And we did a virtual Dean's List ceremony. So here again, this is just a visual of the introduction I just gave you. One thing I want to point out is a lot of times we look at what we're going through in terms of the academics, but there is an emotional and a psychological piece that we were dealing with that our students in bulk, in mass, that we had not dealt with before. And that was how stressed they were. And also we had tragedy. We lost students, parents, and at the School of Business at Medgar Evers College, we actually lost faculty. We lost 3 faculty in a short period of time, 1 in CIS and 2 in accounting. And I have to give credit to our accounting faculty. They came together as colleagues and covered all those classes that were impacted and helped and assisted those students who were hurting as much as they, who being colleagues of those who had passed. And it was a small faculty. So to lose so much of their faculty in a short period of time, it was devastating. We continue with student and alumni engagement and outreach. The mentorship program was a peer-to-peer mentorship, seniors and juniors helping freshmen and sophomore with things of how to navigate this new remote environment and how to support each other. It was fabulous. I think that's one of the things that I learned through this process. The peer-to-peer engagement, whether it's faculty peer-to-peer engagement or student peer-to-peer engagement, is very strong. We hosted a group meet chat room so that they could just feel free to have sort of like a student union informal environment. A community partnership with Central Brooklyn Economic Development Corporation. I'll talk to you more about that later. And virtual internships with Wall Street Bound. We had face-to-face boot camps, face-to-face boot camps, which were converted to virtual boot camps as well as internships. And we had many Zoom events. So let's start with student and alumni programs. There were many, and I have to give my hats off to our program manager, Ms. Raquel Bennett. She did an outstanding job of staying in touch and keeping the touches high with the students that we engaged with. There were focus groups, alumni shining groups, alumni talking to each other, students in the know that would talk to other students about what they were going through and how to navigate it. Town hall meetings where we called all the students together just to hear what was on their mind. Sips and chats, more informal engagement where the students who were quieter, who might not speak in a large town hall meeting, was speak in a smaller setting, and not to feel like they were missing their senior exposure. We did a senior week with all kinds of activities for seniors. We did a dean's office hours so that they would know that they still had access to me, because I often I always had an open door out policy, but it was difficult if the door was virtual. So now we had specific hours that they could come and access the dean. Information sessions. We also had industry session. New York Life and Amazon did webinars, and we did professional development for the students. Now, each one of these segments could have, you could hear the video of the students talking themselves, but we don't have time for that today. What I do want you to know is about some of the unique alumni and students that we have. They're not unique, but I just want you to know just a little bit more about their profiles. Rowan came to us from a small island in St. Lucia. He had done some of his work already, and he had was a professional accountant, but he came to Maker and he got fully engaged in the activities. He's the one that went with us with a group of students around the world, assessing how other countries actually run businesses through our entrepreneurship lab program. I think Rowan may have gone to five or six different countries, but the one he spent the most time in was Kenya. He went to Kenya twice, and he made a lot of contacts. And coming back, he sourced his entire business from Kenyan products and services, including the website that he's running. And he's been back to Kenya several times for his business since then. So he is an example of, once our students have access and exposure, they can do wonderful things. Sharifa Clark is a current student at Medgar Evers College, and she is one of our shining stars. I can't say it any other way. She has multiple internship offers from defense and non-defense, large companies, and she has trouble even choosing which ones to accept. She also has multiple scholarships. In fact, last night, they just awarded her the Charles T. Davidson scholarship. And that one is really close to my heart, because Charles T. Davidson was a retired accounting faculty member, and it's the alumni and students of Medgar Evers College who started a foundation fund to continue to support accounting students because of their love, of the dedication and the commitment of their faculty. Sade Stiles is another alumni who says that Medgar Evers College really helped her get on her way. And all of these students presented virtually in a remote environment to our Medgar audience. I'll get you next slide. Okay, faculty engagement. I have to give kudos to our associate in the dean's office, Ms. Roxanne Towler. Ms. Towler ran the faculty engagement programs. So we did faculty retreats, we did brown bags where they talked about specific interests to them, their research or some of the things that they were doing in classes. We did some professional development for the faculty, and we did conferences. And I'll talk a little bit more about that now. This is the largest conference that we worked on, and we did it with a different kind of approach. We had a committee of students, faculty, administrators, and community leaders. And we said, we're going to do a conference on remote learning. And so it was the committee that came and said, well, we can have some outside expertise, but we also want to have our internal experts, which is our faculty. And what we found was that some of the best practices that were continuing to be done were already being in use. And we also had some additional tools that we could bring to table in this new remote environment. Professor Billy presented earlier today in the conference, her and her colleagues. Well, she was tasked with creating 4 courses in 1 week, and she was able to do so by using a rapid course development process. Now, content, she already had it. It was converting the content into a remote environment, and she used our in-house development team staff, Karen Mitchell and Ian Joseph, to assist her in doing that. Okay, so this is one of the highlights of our spring time. We had been in a remote environment for a year, and we had learned some of the tips of engagement. And so again, we developed a committee with many different stakeholders. We asked the committee, what kind of content were you looking for? And it came back with just a wonderful program with everything from cryptocurrency, cannabis businesses, to how to deal with remote or virtual art. So it was built because we did such an extensive outreach on the content. We included a Pioneering Woman Award. As many of you know, or you may not know, the largest segment and fastest growing segment, not largest segment, but the fastest growing segment of businesses in the US are Black women businesses. And I can go into a lot more on the reasons for that, including the discrimination that continues to be in the marketplace and the glass ceiling, and how many Black women have lots of expertise and lots of experiences, and they're choosing to go out on their own rather than stay in environments that are not appreciative of them or does not fully utilize their capability. Our Bling Conference was sponsored by Morgan Stanley, but we had other partners, the Black Alliance of Colleges and Employers, the Dance Fitness. And this one was really nice because after sitting for a couple of days, you get a little tired. And so they got us involved in moving around and moving our bodies, and that was a nice little break. Carver Federal Savings Bank was our first sponsor the year before, and they continued to work with us. And Central Brooklyn Economic Development Corporation is one of our long-standing partners, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So these are some of the comments and feedback we got from the conference attendees. And one of the things that I noted was, even though, and you've been to many conferences, lots of times we give the presenter a short amount of time because we're trying to get in as many presenters as possible. But what we found in our feedback session was they wanted depth. There were some topics that they were much more interested in, and they wanted us to be able to allow the presenters more time, because unlike the face-to-face environment, it wasn't like they could tap them on the back later. Yes, they could go into the chat room, but they had a feeling that if they had more time with the content, they would have gotten more. So that was a key finding I learned. Central Brooklyn Economic Development Corporation, LaShawn Allen Muhammad has worked with us for the last 6 or 7 years. And in a video presentation, she tells you more about how that relationship evolved. We do everything from through 12 entrepreneurship courses, as well as provide mentors and interns for her programs. We physically have a place in her current facility, but they are building a new facility, and it's our hope and our plan to be in that facility as well. Wall Street Bound, I mentioned to you, Troy Prince came to us as they were launching this company. So it's a startup. He had been a trader on Wall Street, and what he noticed that there were a few Black and brown people around, and he wanted to be a force to be able to engage more students of color in the financial market industry. And if they choose to become traders or affiliated kinds of functions. So we started off working with him with the development of a face-to-face boot camp, but during COVID, we had to convert to a remote boot camp. And some of the students that participated in this training also were able to have internships with traders or in financial organizations. And at the very top to the left, you see our financial simulation labs, where they actually can get exposure and experience on systems that are used to fight financial trading desks. So we're very appreciative to being able to continue a viable service to our students. Dietrich Hellberg is the president of the U.S. Coalition of Black Women Businesses. We have produced webinars with her. As I mentioned to you, that there is a growing number of Black women in businesses who need a lot of support. You know, many of us think that access to financial capital markets is the problem, but part of the challenge is, even if you get access to the financial capital, the experience of knowing exactly what to do with it and how to make that capital the most productive it can be for the uses that you have in your business is a need that we have, for a growing need that we have for more good mentors to help the young women as they come along. And she also tells her story in this. You know, she's in an industry where there are very few women and very few Black women, and how she navigates through that. Again, we don't have time to go through that, but I wanted you to be aware. So in the few minutes that I have remaining, I want to talk about what we learned. We learned that as a community, as a college, as a school of business, that we are resilient. And we're resilient not because we want to be for ourselves, but we're resilient because of those we serve. Those students had nothing to do with this crisis that has come upon us. So it behooves us to do the best we can every day to give them our utmost best. And I believe in 2020 and in 2021, we have done that. Our students have persevered, they have come out. And so as we go into another cycle of whatever virus they're calling, we know we can again be resilient and persevere. We develop programs and processes to support one another. I can't tell you how much the peer-to-peer faculty support and the peer-to-peer student support was a valid and viable part of the recovery and being able to persevere in this still uncertain environment. We learned how to work virtually. Many of our faculty had never taught online before. Many of our students had never taken a course online. Now we have the other situation where many of the students now are online and understand better how to navigate and have schedules and families and other competing priorities. Online environment, even though it wasn't easy, what they found that it was possible, and in some cases preferable. They are ready to work. We are ready to work as a college and as a school in flexible delivery modes as needed by those we serve. It is not about what we want. It is about the teaching and learning that's going to be effective for our students. In fact, I was originally in the teaching and learning section, and because of some scheduling issues that I had, not the conference, I had to move it. But in teaching and learning, it's not about how easy it is for us to teach, but it is whatever we have to do to be bridges to the learning for our students. And so even though originally we did the best we could, but it wasn't where we wanted to be, we kept getting better at maintaining support for our faculty, for our staff, and for the students that we serve in this uncertain environment, and teaching and learning as it continues to transform into 2022. Thank you for letting me share. I've enjoyed my time with you, and I hope that you have a wonderful and prosperous 2022. Thank you. Bye-bye now.